Before we dive into today's episode, I have something truly special to share. Next September, I'll be leading an intimate women's retreat through the south of France and northern Italy, and you're invited. Picture this: mornings exploring the colorful markets of the French Riviera, afternoons sipping wine, and a hotel view with golden Mediterranean sunsets. Whether you love photography, food, or just want to reconnect with your playful creative self, this trip is designed for you. Spots are limited, so if all this sounds like your kind of adventure, please visit tourwithabsolutely.com and look for the tour France and Italy with Crystal. You can also send me a message or check out the show notes. Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Today on the show, I interview Amanda Winkelmann. We talk all about how to keep social media social. She gives us some key tips on how you can use social media as a creative, as a small business owner. We learn all about what it takes to keep social media fun and also help you join other business owners and create more business for yourself. So welcome to the show, Amanda. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, thanks. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you on the show because you're specializing in social media, but another aspect of that in many ways. We'll get into that later. But I want to go back to the beginning of where you're from and talk a little bit about recently spending 6 weeks in Paris.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I grew up in Wisconsin, which is, a northern state in the United States. And I grew up a little bit in the countryside, which was really part of my background in growing into social media. I was definitely a social butterfly from a young age, and I was deeply involved in 4-H, which for those who are not familiar with 4-H, it's kind of like Girl Scouts, except for it's got boys and girls, and you can do all sorts of different projects and activities. And that was where I had my social needs met before the internet.
I love that. I was in 4-H in Maryland too. 4-H, yes.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. I'm originally from Baltimore. And talk a little bit about your 6 weeks in Paris. Like, what inspired you to come here? What were you learning while you were here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in love with Paris for a long time. My family has some ancestral roots back to France, and my grandma and my aunt have gone to Paris together. And I wasn't able to join them on those trips, and unfortunately, my grandmother has passed. And so when I was in college, I chose to study abroad in Sevilla, Spain. And I did that because I had been taking Spanish. I wanted to go to a Spanish-speaking country, and I absolutely loved it. I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Europe. I'm a huge fan of Spain. But while I was in Spain, I did a weekend trip to Paris. And that's when I learned that, like, we could have heart cities is kind of what I call it. It's these places on the planet where when we go to them, we feel like either like we've been there before, or like we were supposed to be there all our life, or like we've got such a deep connection to the place that it's almost unexplainable. And for me, Paris is that place. There's truly no other place on this planet. I even live in Denver, Colorado, and I enjoy living in Denver, but there is no other place that I've ever been to that hits me in the heart like Paris. I've since been back multiple times. Prior to this trip, I was there in 2022, I had the joy and pleasure of getting engaged in a park in the city, which, only further deepened my love and my connection for the place. And the 6 weeks, we called it an adult study abroad. And it was a dream of mine. It continues to be a dream of mine to, live in Paris. However, I have other dreams as well, and my dreams and my goals compete. And right now I'm not at a place where I can do a full pick up and move. Number one, I just don't have the language skills. And number two, there are a lot of US based activities, business related, that need to happen in my life before I can live abroad in a more permanent way. So this 6 weeks in Paris was snuggled into a longer, almost 3 months in Europe that my husband and I did with our honeymoon. And then we just decided to spend some more time abroad in Paris and just quote it in air quotes, live in Paris for 6 weeks.
That's amazing. I mean, I felt the same way the first time I came here. I was like, I am connected to this place. I don't know why, but I'm coming back. And then moving here 12 years ago, there's so many ups and downs, obviously, but it's so nice to hear, so many people really connect to this city for very good reasons. And then talk a little bit about your company. You are the founder and CEO of Keep Social Media Social. So talk a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope whenever someone hears Keep Social Media Social, it kind of stirs something in them. One thing I love about that phrase is that it means something just slightly different to everyone, and that is okay. We all have different ways of being social, and our social life is something that is, intimate to us and evolving as we evolve as people. Our organization, Keep Social Media Social, we are a social company and community. And we've got a few different areas that we help serve people. The one that we're most known for today is our agency. So we work with different business owners, brands, companies to really make sure that they are utilizing social in a way that is authentic, true, and frankly, smart for their organization. And by the way, just as we all have our own individual social lives, each business that we work with has a slightly different, social connection to their community and their customers. So we are honored to be able to help them on that journey. And then the other thing that we are continuing to develop and grow right now, and this was actually part of what I was able to spend my time in Paris doing some deep work on, is we are building out an academy. So a Keep Social Media Social Academy with all sorts of different social classes, hard skills in terms of how to make better TikToks, all the way to soft skills of how to have a hard conversation. Or how to have a healthier relationship with technology and your phone. So that's what we enjoy with Keep Social Media Social. And we do also publish our fair share of different medias. We've been doing a magazine for the last couple of years, and we just love publishing across different mediums all about social.
Yeah, and I think there's so many of us as small business owners who struggle with social media. Talk a little bit about what are the common mistakes you see businesses making with social media?
Yeah, absolutely. I will say the number one issue that we see is actually consistency. So, and this makes a ton of sense. What we see is we see a lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, I have to be social. So I'm going to go and I'm going to put in a ton of effort. And they really go from 0 to 100. And then they put in that level of effort for about 3 weeks, which is awesome. And they start seeing some of the immediate benefits. Usually some type of lead or sales starts coming through. They start getting busy. And as soon as they start getting busy, then social falls off, because then they've got to then basically help, handle what has just been created. So then they completely fall off. or, they go and they do a big push, but they don't see anything. And then they get discouraged and they fall off. One of the biggest things that we really want to remind people is that just a baseline of consistency, so just a couple of posts a week that are true to you and your business, that over a long run of a year, 2 years, 3 years, that is going to pay off more than these periods of like crazed level, this crazed posting for 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time.
That makes complete sense. And I think so many of us have done that. And also I think we feel overwhelmed because we're like, okay, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, like what should we focus on? Or what's the future, And then you put all this effort and then the next thing's coming along. So which platform do you think small business owners should really be focusing on?
Yeah. Well, so I'm going to have two answers for you. I'm going to have like a big picture answer, and then I'm going to have a very specific answer. Okay. My big picture answer is whatever one you are most passionate about and where your clients are. So there's got to be a bit of a match there, but I'm going to even use, I know business owners who really TikTok is like pulling teeth. Anywhere that if you are like constantly feeling like you're going to the dentist to be doing your social, it's not going to be fun. And when it's not fun, it's really likely not going to be engaging. Social was meant to be fun. And so I would encourage you, forget the noise, tune out the noise of trying to be on every single platform or be on a platform just because it's popular right now. Think about where you want to spend your time. And for some of our, we work with clients of truly all different ages. It's amazing. We work with really young business owners, who are in Gen X, and we work all the way, to people who are retiring, but they're starting their own consultancies. And some of, depending on where you are, some people are very comfortable with TikTok and very excited about it. And some people are very, very comfortable with LinkedIn and they're excited about that. Choose your platform based on where you want to spend time. There is definitely a myth that like you can just hire a social media company and just never ever think about it again. You can do that. Just that's not what we do. Please don't hire us to do that. We really collaborate with people with social because we believe that part of keeping social media social is keeping the business's kind of heart and soul and authenticity on the platform. So my first answer is that big picture is, go where you feel called and go where you're excited about and where your audience is. My second, which is very specific, is we continue to see really positive things for Instagram. Instagram is a really multifaceted tool. And it, a lot of times when people think about Instagram, they might only think about the news feed, but Instagram has stories, it has reels, it has the news feed, it has ways to put together messaging groups. And so what I love about Instagram for small businesses, especially creative businesses, is that there's still opportunity to, use that profile in creative ways. However, you've just kind of got to ignore, again, the noise in terms of, the news feed, and from an engagement perspective is definitely not what it was 2016, 2017, 2018, even 2019. So you kind of have to tune that out just a little bit. And if you can tune that out just a bit, then you can get to a place where you're having more fun. And then when you're having more fun, that's when we see the results come.
I think that's a great point because I think a lot of people feel overwhelmed, so they just give up. And they're like, okay, whatever, I'm stepping away and I'll come back. And like you said, consistency is key. And what are your feelings about AI? Everyone's talking about AI right now, like using it to write posts and then kind of messing with them a little bit. And then all these crazy things are coming out of AI. What are your feelings? Is it the future? Should we be jumping on board as soon as possible? How do you feel about it?
Yeah. Just like social, I see AI as a tool. And I truly believe that AI and social can be somewhat of a neutral tool. It's about what you put into it. So this is a kind of a big philosophy that we have. And it's actually a part of one of our academy programs, and it's called GTFO. GTFO, which is a really fun name because, by the way, we're in a lot of high schools with this and the kids love it. It stands for Get to Freedom Online and Get to Freedom Offline. And what it means is that rather than having things control us. So whether it be technology, whether it be AI, rather than feeling like these things are being pushed on us or like we are beholden to them, it is about us regaining frankly, our autonomy, our power, our control over these things. And in GTFO, we talk a lot about the energy that we put into a tool or a technology. So if we're going to come to, let's just say, Instagram or AI or something, and we're going to come at it with like a shit mood, like really just negative energy. We're really concerned about the world. We're really upset about some of the different war things that are going on. We're really like mad because we can't, like, we are going to end up putting that energy into whatever it is we do. So whatever, if it's a scroll session and we're just scrolling, that energy is present with us. If that's going to go into some type of prompt, or we're going to have that type of feeling as we're utilizing AI, that's going to show up in the output. So my whole thing with AI and even just tech in general is it's a neutral tool. And if you're in a place where you're feeling really, really stuck against it, take a pause. Like, take a pause, get offline. If you need to do some journaling about why it is you're feeling this way, I think that's a really, really healthy exercise and way to examine. But I would also encourage you then, see if you can get to just a neutral place with the tool. And then see if you can get to a place where you're like, okay, instead of, I'm not asking you to approach it with necessarily a positive mindset. I think going from like a negative mindset to a positive mindset is a really big jump. But can you choose curiosity? So in terms of AI, could you say, okay, wow, this is a really big tool and this is clearly disrupting business and potentially even my industry, which, by the way, in social, yeah, AI is a huge disruptor. I wonder how this tool could help me do more of my best creative work. And if you can get to that point of curiosity, that's where I think really healthy things start to come. And if that's something, if you are just like emotionally anti-AI, again, take a break, get out your analog, your paper, your pen, do some jotting. And then when you're in a place, if you can explore it, one thing I really want to encourage is, before you start utilizing the tools to try to increase revenue or improve something you're doing, especially if you're creative, maybe you can just have fun with it. So for example, I love Midjourney. Midjourney is an AI art tool. And we often have to come up with images for either in presentations or images for social or images wherever. And last year, I challenged myself. I was feeling a little like anti Midjourney because I love photographers. I love my photography friends. I love designers. We pay creatives. We get paid as creatives. So rather than trying to go onto Midjourney and feeling like this angst about what's it doing to our industry, I just started futzing around. And futzing is like the best word to use for that. And we have this client who's a tea company. And we do take high-end professional photos for this company. But there was something that I had in my brain that I didn't think we could ever create in a photo shoot because it would be way too cost prohibitive. This is a small business. And it was cats having tea. So I went to Midjourney and I just started putting in different prompts of like little cats having tea. And all of a sudden, I was having so much fun. And I got these like hilarious like little kittens having high tea back. And then I was like, well, what if hedgehogs had tea? And then hedgehogs had tea. And then all of a sudden I could see like a social campaign coming from this where we would put up these posts, clearly identify them as AI because they clearly are, and then have people vote. Like, do you like the kittens having tea? Do you like the hedgehogs having tea? We started doing different types of puppies. So that's where we had fun with it. So that's my 2 cents on AI.
Super fun. I love it. Yeah. And like you said, it's all about finding ways to use it in a positive ways and not getting mad at it, because then that just goes online with whatever you post. It's just like anger, and that's not helping anyone sell anything. And
Yeah.
are there any other tools that you strongly recommend for small business owners, like online tools, whether it's AI websites, or I know everyone knows about Canva. There's some other things that you think people don't really know about yet?
I'm gonna go a little bit more analog here, and I'm gonna share. There's 3 books that I'm reading. Well, that I've either read or am reading that I'd love to share. And if you're comfortable with me reading a quote from at least one of them, I would love to do that.
Sure, go for it.
So, the book that I'm first going to recommend is a book called Art and Fear. And the subtext or subtitle is Observations on the Perils and Rewards of Art Making. And this is by David Bales and Ted Orland. And the first quote that I'm going to read, and I'm picking it up like mid-sentence, but I think this is going to really, this is something that I've been challenged with in my creative journey and my business journey. And it's on imperfection. And it says, imperfection is not only a common ingredient in art, but very likely an essential ingredient. And then later, on the same topic, it goes on to say, for you, the seed for your next artwork lies embedded in the imperfections of your current piece. Such imperfections, or mistakes, if you're feeling particularly depressed about them today, are your guides, valuable, reliable, objective, non-judgmental guides to matters you need to reconsider or develop further. It is precisely this interaction between the ideal and the real that locks your art into the real world and gives meaning to both. And I don't know, Crystal, if you've ever dealt with that, but like that kind of perfection trap.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's so true. I think a lot of us have the analysis paralysis, like we're like, we could be doing all these, like, especially when you take courses or start learning about something, you're like, okay, so I got all this information. Now, where do I start?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's that fear of where do I start? I think for me, in my creative life, I do a lot with my business. I also do a lot of art, like true just hobby art offline. And it's so funny because I have such a sharp vision in my head of what I want it to look like. And, even AI delivers these sharp looking images. And I'm like, wow, that's great. And then when I go to create something offline, like the difference between what is in my head and what comes out in, on paper, or for me, I do a lot of like 3D, it's not sculpture, but it's like 3D mixed media. It is not perfect. Like, and it is far from perfect. And there's this gap between, again, the image and the vision in my head and then what is real. And that's the same for my business too. And I will tell you, the last few years in my business has been me wrestling with this. And another book that I'm reading, and this will be kind of book number 2 that I share as a tool. This is for people out there who are doing business. This is a business book, but it's the E-Myth books. There's a few different of them in the series, but the E-Myth is all about the entrepreneurial myth. And it's a guide to help you moving from working in your business to working on your business. And one of the things that the E-Myth does that really kind of connects with that Art and Fear book is that it really pushes you to, rather than just having this mental image of where your business is and moving from that mental image, live in reality, live in today, live in the actuality of where your business is. And that's been something that I've really, really struggled with over my years, especially because as a creative, I have a very, very strong visionary gift. And my challenge has been that I live in the future. I live in my head. And so both of these two things have really brought me down into the present. And that's been incredibly rewarding and incredibly, that's helped change both my business and it's helped change the way that I approach my physical art.
Yeah, because I think a lot of us are like, my business is going to be this, this, and this. And we just keep thinking about how big it is and then comparing ourselves to others. And like you said, we need to be like, okay, where are we today, though? What steps can I take today for my business?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And was there a third book you were going to recommend?
Yeah, this one is Stephen King. It's his book on writing. So it's Stephen King on writing, a memoir of the craft. And I am reading this book. I'm not sure if I've got something in me that I'm writing or not. But I always respect other phenomenal artists and creatives, no matter their craft. So I would say I'm reading this book just because I respect incredible artists. But there's a quote that he has that I'll read now, and it just like, it's good. He writes, and this is again kind of picked up mid sentence and mid paragraph, but stopping a piece of work just because it's hard, either emotionally or imaginatively, is a bad idea. Sometimes you have to go on when you don't feel like it. And sometimes you're doing good work when it feels like all you're managing is to shovel shit from a sitting position.
I love that book. I read that book when I was writing my memoir, and it has a lot of good stuff in there. And it's crazy because like midway while writing that book, he was in that terrible accident, and then he took a break from writing the book and came back to it. And it's like kind of changes a little bit the way he writes.
Yeah, it's interesting how life has such an impact on us. But yeah, I'm a fan of this as well. I'm not all the way through it. I'm about midway through right now, so I'm looking forward to continuing on with that one.
Yeah, it's a great book. It's got so many gems in there. And earlier you talked about defining what is true for our businesses. Talk a little bit about that. Like, how can people really zero in on, what they're trying to sell with their art or their small business? Like, how do you define what is true?
Well, I'm a really big fan of an audit concept. And this has been something that I think you can do in your personal life, your creative life, and your business life. And I think it's just a really good opportunity to sit down and be objective. And in terms of being objective, really auditing, what is going on? Like, what are we doing? What is actual? What is the activity? What are the goals? What are we spending our time doing? And really looking at, whenever we look at this, and this is a keep social media social kind of philosophy here, but whenever you're auditing, whether it's your business, whether it is your personal life, or whether it is specifically your social media, we're looking at what can you keep? So what can you keep doing? Just doing better. What do you need to cut? What is no longer serving you? And what do you need to create? And again, when you look at those three different things in the lens of a business or your personal life or your social media, I think that can really bring up some really incredible insights. And so, even in your personal life and the way that you are interacting with social, again, what do you want to keep doing? Just doing better. What do you need to cut out? Are there scroll sessions that are just doom scrolls that are not helping you or your creative life? And what do you need to create? Are there new habits that need to be set into place?
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And talk a little bit about how you would define creativity in your own words.
Okay, so I did my work here. I have three things that for me really define creativity. Number one is, for me, it's the ability to see something that is currently mundane in a different light, to really see its potential. So, for example, if there is a, beaten down shed near you, you don't just see the beaten down shed, you see a mural. If there is a business that has a for lease sign in the window and maybe the building looks a bit dilapidated, you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, I can see the business. So you see that potential. Number 2, for me, creativity for me means the relentless pursuit of your heart on fire goals and dreams. And so for me, that 6 weeks in Paris, that was something that I planned for years, and I had to budget for that. But it was this relentless pursuit of that. And then finally, creativity for me means having hobbies with absolutely no monetary goal or outcome, and making sure that you don't just sell all of your creativity.
Yeah, I think that's so true. Those are great definitions. And I think it's very hard to define creativity because there is so many things, and yeah, it's fun to think about that question.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah, definitely. I like your 3 answers. That's fun. And then talk about the best advice you've ever been given as far as a creative or a small business owner.
Ooh, the best advice. I'm going to go with something that is really speaking to me loudly right now. And it does come from the E-Myth book. So this is from the author, and he's a business person, but this is from Michael Gerber. In the book, there are a lot of times when you want to quit. There's a lot of times in growing a business, scaling a business, whatever it is, or even in a hard piece of creative work. And it's just 3 words, and it's see it through. What does it mean to see it through? And that's really sticking with me right now.
I like that. I think that's great advice. And I think like all the business gurus and all that I listen to, that's a common thing. It's like, it's not the best business that survives. It's not the best artist that survives. It's the one that keeps at it, even when nothing's working, even when you feel like it's not happening, you just stick to it. You dig in.
Yep, that's exactly it. And I recently was at the Picasso Museum in Paris, and what struck me about Picasso, boy, this was a man who was not afraid to keep taking a whack at different artistic pieces and even types. That really resonated with me. Was he just didn't stop. Do you know what I mean? Like, this was a man who just did not stop creating. And I don't necessarily think that every piece had to be his best piece. He did it because he just kept going. And that blew me away at the Picasso Museum. And it's the see it through.
I think that's a great note to end on. And talk a little bit about where people can connect with you, work with you, and see more of your work.
Yeah. Kind of the heartbeat of where you can find us is at keepsocialmediasocial.com. That'll point you to a few other places depending on what you'd like to do. We are, if someone is thinking about how to best use their time, energy, and their money on social media, we do have an amazing Keep Social Media Social audit that I would love to help serve. We've got business owners who have had this, who just have their eyes completely open. And they were like, we were spending so much time on social, but we weren't actually spending like strategic time on social. And so I love that this audit helps them learn what to keep doing, but better, what to cut out and what to create. So if someone would like to work with that, please, head on over to keepsocialmediasocial.com and fill out an inquiry form. Otherwise, I would say email or Instagram. And my email is just amanda@keepsocialmediasocial.com.
Perfect. Well, I can't wait to see what you'll do next. And thank you so much for sharing all this valuable information today.
Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.